Hi there, welcome to my channel, My PhD Live. If you haven't subscribed to my channel yet, hit the red subscribe button and become a part of my science outreach initiative. If you're enjoying the content I'm creating, then make sure you hit the like button because that is the algorithm that helps me reach out to all the science enthusiasts out there.
Let us start this session. Firstly, I would like to introduce the panel that we have here. We have four folks. They are all from Punjab University. The first one is Navjot Kaur. She is a PhD scholar currently working in IISc Bangalore. And then we have Himanshu Nikhara, who is working in ONGC. And Vishal, who is again working in ONGC as an assistant executive, and Rahul, who is also working in Jubilant Life Sciences. He's working in Jubilant. I would also ask them to introduce themselves at least for a minute before we go into the questions related to GATE. So let's start with Navjot first.
Good morning, everyone. I'll start off by thanking Sharanya, Srividya, and Sri Watson for putting this all together, and for all the folks at Amma University who have been putting in the effort to get this all together, and the audience for being polite and listening to us. I'm Navjot Kaur. I belong to the state Punjab. I did my bachelor's in chemical engineering from Punjab University. Post that, I worked for a year in a company called Fluor India Limited, which is I had a role of a process engineer, and the company was based out of Gurgaon. I had realized my interest in research during my undergrad and had started planning for the career path that I had to take for that. And post 1 year stint at Fluor, I joined as a PhD scholar at the Indian Institute of Science, IISc Bangalore. My current research focuses on developing point of care diagnostics. These are diagnostics that you could use at a nearby pharmacy or at your home. And my specialization currently is in developing molecular diagnostics. To ease out the jargon for you, all of us now know about the RT-PCR tests for COVID, right? And we know how difficult it is to find a lab that could test you, the cost of the test, and then many problems of say false positives or not enough samples to test for, and all these are the sort of problems that I'm trying to solve to make a diagnostic tool that you could use at your home or at a nearby pharmacy, as I said, to say test for COVID or tuberculosis and things like that. I'll talk more about things when we start the other conversation. Thanks.
Maybe Navjot, can you tell us your motivation behind writing GATE, and where did you get information about all the details that is required to proceed for it as an exam?
Sure. So I took the GATE exam twice. First in my final year of undergrad, which was in 2015, and I had already I had already been placed through campus placement by that time. So I actually wasn't very serious the first time I wrote it, but I thought that it will be a good experience to get, and that's why I went ahead writing it for the first time. I hear some background noise. Is that me or that's?
We're sort of muting everybody else. Navjot,
Okay.
Please go forward.
Okay.
Don't worry.
Okay. Yeah, sure. So since this is one learning that I took from that experience, the first time around I didn't prepare at all. I thought that I've been a good academic performer of my batch, so I'll just go ahead and write the exam and do well. And that didn't happen. So that was like an eye opener for me that just because you're doing well in academics and you might be the topper of your batch in your college, that doesn't mean that you're going to do well in a competitive exam, because the kind of preparation you require for the two are very different. The second time around, because I was now carving out my research plan and I knew that I wanted to get into a PhD program, and GATE is a necessary qualification that you have to get into any good government university in India. And for better universities like IISc and other IITs, you need to have a good GATE rank to qualify to and get into the interview rounds. So the second time around, I prepared really well. And I'll talk about the preparations when we come to those questions. The other part of where I learned about it is I heard it from my seniors and my batchmates. So as soon as the end of the third year came around, everyone was like, "Oh, there's this something called as a GATE exam, and we should write it. We could get jobs in PSUs." At that time, I didn't know that I need to take that also for getting into PhD programs. it was when I started carving out my research career plan that I figured out that okay, GATE is going to be an important exam in the process.
Okay, so next I would like to ask Navjot, if you have any idea about, how do you compare, higher studies here versus abroad? Would you be able to share some pointers in that sense, since you are doing research here, vis-a-vis, I'm sure you would have also, thought of options abroad. So can you share something around in that line?
Sure. Before I do that, I'm going to be persistent in my efforts with Himanshu and request him to call me Navjot and not call me Navjot ma'am, because have I done something to be called that? Coming back to your question, yes, in my final year, I had also taken GRE exams as many students do, and I was planning to apply for a PhD abroad. And since I was very clear that I want to get into research long term, and a PhD degree was something that could get me into that field, I didn't apply for any master's program at that point. People can also apply for masters and then convert into PhDs or do PhDs after their masters, but I didn't look at that option because I had somehow figured out that PhD is what I want to do. After that, the second important thing that students should know is that there's something called as direct PhD programs now. So you don't need to do a master's necessarily to do a PhD. And you have these options available both in India and outside. So you can apply to these programs directly after your bachelor's. But then it also becomes tough because you'll have competitors in the application process who might be coming after masters. So your bachelor's profile and your exposure and things that you've done in your bachelor's and things that you want to do after your bachelor's and your PhD, your SOPs and everything should show why you would be a worthy candidate. I am also a direct PhD student at IISc, so I've not done a master's. You can do enough number of credits to get both the degrees at the end of the program. So I have done some additional credits which will give me both a master's and a PhD degree at the end of my PhD program in India. Coming to the comparison of how I look at the programs in India versus abroad, talking about the master's course programs, I think things are still way more rigorous and advanced outside India as compared to India. But if you get into the right institutes for master's program here, I'm talking about like IIC or the good IITs and some good NITs, you might be at the right places to get as much exposures as you might get outside. For PhDs especially, I think Indian institutes have become much, much better. And IICs and IITs are at good IIT Bombay, IIT Madras, IIT Kanpur, they are at par with the good universities or the Ivy League universities you have outside. For instance, being at IIC has given me exposure to go to international conferences. So I've been to United Nations Winter Youth Assembly, which was held at the United Nations headquarters in New York. I have been to another international conference which was held in San Francisco, and this is not something unique that I have done. Every other student at IISc gets these opportunities. You get funding to do this. So if you're at the right place, the environment is so nourishing that you will find your best qualities coming out. So I don't think that students should have an inhibition, especially in terms of PhD programs, that Indian institutes are lagging behind, given the conditions apply that you get to the right place.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Navjot, for that insight. Next, I would like to ask, say, Navjot, say that second year students who are out here want, so what would be your advice to a second year student about attempting GATE? So when should they start preparing? Obviously starting at the fourth year is like the minimum that someone has to do. But what if somebody is clear right now being at the second year, but now since the core subjects haven't really started much, like more of the core subjects start from the fifth semester. So what would be your advice to a second year student here on preparing for GATE?
Sure. In terms of preparation, I think Himanshu has really nicely talked about what it takes to write a GATE exam and prepare for the GATE exam and how it's different from the regular studies that people might be doing. And I completely agree with his thoughts. In terms of what a second year student should do to prepare for the GATE exam, I have a slightly different perspective on this. I feel that the first 2 years, students should take the time, which they have a lot on their plate, to explore all the possible things that they could do with the chemical engineering program that they have gotten themselves into. And if they figure out in the first 2 years that, oh, maybe I got into the wrong program, I don't like fluid dynamics, I don't like thermodynamics, I just don't know what I'm doing. They have a lot of time to explore the different kind of paths they could take after chemical engineering. And please, please, please know that you're not wedded to chemical engineering. So if you feel that, I'm not encouraging people to leave chemical engineering, I'm just letting people know that the first 2 years you have a lot of time to explore. So please take that time, even after bunking all the classes that you want to, taking all the trips that you want to with your friends, you will still have a lot of time to do productive things and use that time well. So the first 2 years, you just explore. Know about GATE, know about CAT, know about what's an MBA, what's an MTech, what's a PhD. You're lucky to have these seniors who are doing this for you right away, giving you on your plate. We didn't have this option. So be thankful to them and explore these options. Take time to develop skills that will make you employable. You might be in a college that doesn't put a lot of emphasis on learning C++, or Python or any language, or it's not something that's, intricately involved in your coursework, but you have a lot of time to learn those things on your own and a lot of resources available now. And those are the skills that will make you employable at the end of your fourth year, rather for GATE or any other interviews that you might want to appear for. So take all this time in your second year to figure out if you like GATE. If you do like GATE, then Himanshu has told you how you can go about the preparation. One, I think two major things that I would want you to be sensitive of is it's a competitive exam. People are going to be given ranks, and that is going to govern if you get a job or admission in a MTech or a PhD program. So as you were preparing for competitive exams to get into a bachelor's, you have to keep those strategies in mind. There's going to be a clock running. There's going to be an online calculator. So you need to simulate that environment and practice exam settings for people who are in third or fourth year now and listening to us. I think, and the second thing is that, as both of them have said, you need to know what's your aim. Aims are going to change every year. They change even now for me. So even if I knew that I want to do a PhD, there's so much I could do in a PhD. And now I'm working closely with biology. So I've moved very far from chemical engineering in those terms. So things are going to be dynamic. You have to know the fact. You should know one particular aim, and then how you achieve that aim is going to change over time. So take all the time that you have right now in your first, second year to explore. Take the third year to streamline. These are the top 5 things that I think, or top 2 things that I think I'm interested in to do. And then the fourth year is going to be crack those 2 things. I think and enjoy this path. So don't be like, okay, I've written this down and I'm not going to have fun. I'm saying have fun, but in addition to that, keep on working, developing skills that make you employable. That's all from my side.
I have a question here, Sharnya here. You said explore. Let's say, give us examples of 2 explorations that you did, to share, like what sort of explorations that you would suggest. Yeah.
Sure. So I'll give you one example of an exploration I did and one that I did now, which I feel that I could have done in my bachelor. So that will, give you a perspective, give students a perspective of how I missed out on things by not being that sensitive at that time. Since I started working with the professor in my department early on, starting from my second year, I was closely working with the PhD scholar in our department. So I was involved in her research project. I would do experiments with her in the lab. I also went for an international conference in India. Waters about the world like. What do researchers do? What do PhD scholars do? What is their like? What is their life like? And it helped me realize this is something that I like. So had I not taken that experience and explored and gone to that professor and told him in my, I think, third semester that I want to explore research, and he was like, you are just in your third semester, what do you know about research? I said, that's why I'm here. So he gave me a few papers and said that go read these and come back and tell me what you understood. And I could have just not ever gone back to him, and it was a full stop there. But I took the time to read it, and I went back to him saying that I really understood very little, but I'm excited to learn more. So let's please do something about this. And then he made me associated with the PhD scholar, and I started working in his lab. So that's one exploration I did. The other exploration that I did not do is that, which I did now, I think a year and a half back, that I started practicing yoga. And I realized that it's a beautiful technique that everyone should have in their lives, just not for physical, but for your mental well-being. And then I regretted that, oh good Lord, I had so much time in my bachelor's. Why did I not explore yoga at that time? So I hope these two instances help you with the kind of conversations I'm trying to create.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you
Navjot.
for answering them.
Yeah.
Navjot or any of you guys, could you talk a little bit on error reflection? Because that's something that I feel is very, we don't usually do that. Like, Navjot, could you explain what you did as error reflection? Like, yeah.
Yeah, that's a really important point, and I learned it the hard way. So I did a mistake, and then I learned. Um I thought that because I wasn't very sensitive of how I'm gonna plan my preparation in the beginning, I thought I'll cover all the theoretical subjects, prepare all the concepts, and then I'll start solving questions. So I did 2 or 3 subjects, spent a good 3, 4 weeks on that. And then one of my friends reached out and said that, hey, I've been trying to solve this question and it's not working. So can you help me? And I couldn't solve that question. And then I picked up 2, 4, 6 more questions from the different subjects I thought I had well prepared, and I couldn't solve many of them. And that was
Did we
Hello.
lose her?
Yeah, looks like we lost her.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I am back. My Zoom is crashing again and again for some reason. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Now we can hear you.
Okay, I'll continue from I think where I dropped out. So I couldn't solve many of the questions that I thought I had prepared the subjects for. And that's when I realized that it's a competitive exam and I need to prepare accordingly. It's not just, so it's different writing your mid-sem and your end-sem exams than writing the gate exam. You are expected to apply the concepts, and for that, as Himanshu pointed out earlier, you need to analyze the equation, analyze the topic that is being taught, and know how to apply that to solve a question. They many times put trick questions which can easily trick you to think something else while the question wants you to do something else in reality. And that happened because I had this experience with my peer group and they asked me and I didn't know. And from then on, I thought that okay, every subject that I prepare, after a week or so of theoretical preparation, I'm going to start solving questions to see how well am I able to grasp the concept and apply it to solve a real life question or a question that's going to be in the question paper. One thing that I would like to point out here is that there's a very thin line when you get into these conversations with your peers, because it should not become a peer pressure. So you should not think that, oh, X friend is doing that, Y friend is doing that, Z friend is doing that. So I'm confused. What should I be doing? So whenever you get into these conversations with your friends, it has to be constructive, things that help you streamline what you're trying to do. For example, this conversation with my friend helped me realize that I have to go back and reflect on my preparation every 2 weeks or every month to see where I'm standing and have a list of things that I thought I want to do. And at the end of 1 month, analyze how much of it I have been able to accomplish. It should, as I said, but it should not make me feel anxious or make me feel that my friends know everything and now I don't know what to do. And then I lose 2 weeks of time worrying on that and not preparing. So, any conversation that you get into with your peers at this time or people that you think are a competition to you, they always try to keep it healthy, because that is the only thing that's going to help you in your preparation and not bog you down with worries.
The next thing that I would like to ask you is after GATE, what is it? What are the next steps after GATE, right? So can you just elaborate, like once you get your GATE score, GATE rank, what happens next in terms of going into the research field?
Srividya, if I can interject for a second. There was a question specifically
yeah, I think this
topic.
is what
Somebody
was
asked,
there in the question. Let's check.
Yeah, it's like,
So
how exactly do you get into IISc, and what are the ranks?
So
the
candidate asked that how would they select an IISc? What is the basic requirement? What is the expected GATE score for the call? And what is the difference between PhD and MS in terms of the score and other things? Yeah.
Cool. So for the MTech research program, so there are 3 programs that you can get into using your GATE score. The MTech course program, there's an MTech research program, and then there's the PhD program. For the MTech course exam, a good rank below top 100 would be something that ensures you getting into at least IISc. You could have somewhere between, I think, top 200 to 500 to get into other IITs. This is for the MTech course program, which will be very similar to your bachelor's. In addition, you'll write a thesis. So you'll have a lot of coursework in the first 1 year. And in the second year, you'll be supposed to doing a project and writing a thesis report on that. The second thing is the MTech research program. For that, somewhere it's not as competitive in terms of the GATE rank as MTech course program, because the number of students who are interested in doing an MTech research program is low. So it's just that maths there. In the MTech research program, you'll have very less coursework, I think 3 to 4 subjects at max, but you'll be involved deeply in research. These kind of programs give you a feel of whether you want to do a PhD later or not, because they give you a lot of research to do, and the thesis that you write is more intense and more, I would say, developed than what you would do for a MTech course program. The third is the PhD program. The rank that you should get depends on the departments that you're aiming to. Being a chemical engineer, for instance, you can apply to the aerospace department, nanoscience, bioengineering, chemical engineering, sustainable engineering, and things like that. Each department.
I think we lost her again.
Yeah, we lost her again. Yeah.
Okay, in the interest of time, I would ask the similar question to Hello?
Yeah, we can hear you, Navjot.
Yeah, I'm so sorry. I don't know what it is with Zoom today.
No,
It was working
you don't have
perfectly
to be
fine
sorry.
yesterday. So
No,
yeah.
it just happens. Like
I'll
sometimes.
just continue. Yeah. Yeah. So every department, at least at IISc, and I know about IIT Bombay, you could check other IIT websites. They publish a list of students with their GATE ranks who got into the programs in different departments the previous year. So these website links and this data gives you an idea about what is the rank you should get to get into the department of your interest.
Or if Himanshu or Navjot, do you have any particular name in mind in terms of the, of course, we can even get back differently, like later in an email or something with the resources, but just asking.
We do have some resources from Navjot for the thing, which we'll share at the last slide.
Yeah, but it didn't have for the preparation, I think. It's more about, yeah, it's not for the preparation, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, please go
ahead. Yeah, I prepared for the exam on my own, so I did not take any coachings. Okay. One of the books that I referred to was the Arihant question banks, and the other thing that I did was the previous year question banks. So these were the 2 books that I had with me all the time. You can get all the question papers online also now. So I actually collected question papers for the last 10 years. And as I said, I made it a practice to go back every now and then and solve questions to see if I'm able to apply the concepts that I've been learning. And that I felt was really useful. At the end of my preparation, I think 2 weeks before the due date of the exam, I joined an online test series so that I could simulate the environment as
can you name that, Navjot? Like, what is that online test series?
I tried, as I said yesterday, I tried pulling up the emails, but I couldn't find. But I think the
no
recent fellows could tell about it.
I think that is what was the specific question, but that's absolutely fine, no problem. We'll try to reach out in case we do get the details. So there is one question for you, Navjot, in specific. Is research experience equally important to GATE score in order to get a PhD position in IISc? So what is your thought on that?
If it's okay, I'll complete the previous answer that I left in between about how you get into IISc. We have talked about the GATE score, the different programs that you have there. Once you have your GATE score, and if your GATE score rank is good enough that you get a call for interview, obviously you have to fill an online application so that IISc knows that you're interested and they can call you for an interview. These are popularized on the IISc IIT's website, so you should keep checking the websites. Once you get the score and you get a call for interview, every department at IISc works differently, so it's pretty autonomous in that way. Specifically for the Department of Chemical Engineering, now they have another level of exam that you have to give at the department, which the department designs for the students who are interested in taking admissions. So you have to take that exam. That is the first round of filtering that they do out of the applications. Once you go into the next round, it could be 1 or 2 rounds of oral interview where you'll have a panel of professors, which is a little scary for bachelor students going into an interview with IIT professors. It feels like, okay, they're just gonna kill it, and they're just going to show you down and make you feel really bad about yourself. But that is not something that happens. Professors are very, very considerate of the fact that students with bachelors in India come from very, very different universities, and someone coming from an IIT and someone coming from a Punjab University or any NIT are very, very different. And they're only different because of the training they were exposed to. So they're very sensitive to this fact. They're very affable, they're very warm. And what they want to see is, if they pose you a question, as Sharanya talked, what is your problem solving skill? And that is why exploration during your bachelor's becomes even more important, because it helps you develop that thought process. For instance, one of the questions I was asked in my interview was, you have a weighing machine and a sheet of paper, and you now have to tell the density of the material. How will you go about it? So these are the kind of questions that they ask to see how you think. Obviously, they also ask. So at my time, the first round of interview had mathematics. So they would ask me, how would you solve an ODE? They would write an equation and say, is this an ODE? Is this a PDE? What kind of variables can you imagine? What kind of conditions do you think such an equation comes from? So these are the questions that were there in the first round. In the second round, there was a lot of heat transfer, mass transfer, and these sort of questions, given some experimental setup or given some condition and asked, how are you going to approach the problem? So these are the kind of interview questions that you go through. As I said, you have to fill priorities for 3 departments. It was 3 at my time. I hope it's the same now. So I had filled nanoscience, sustainable energy, and chemical engineering. And I gave interviews in all the 3 departments. And overall, the expectations from the interviews in all the departments were similar. While some departments had 1 round of interview, some had 2. But what they expected from the candidate was similar, and the reactions and the nature of the professors was also similar. So I hope this gives you a glimpse of the admission process. The other question you had asked about was, sorry, I forgot.
So the question was, since you said you had some research experience
Oh,
as
yes.
you worked. So what was the weightage you think you had in terms of getting picked up because of that?
It's good to have it. It'll be like brownie points on your profile, but it's not like a big no if you don't have it. What they want to see is, if you're going there for an interview, how honest you are to that effort, and what is your thinking process. I know many of my batchmates who have not had an experience and have been equally successful as researchers and have gotten admissions. So prior research experience is like cherry on the cake.
Okay.
But you have to bake the cake first.
Yeah.
One more question for how to reach out for internships, especially in your second and your third year. Any thoughts around that, Navjot?
I'm going to share one thing about the IIT internship. That was one specific ask, I think. So that's called as the summer fellowship program in IIT. It's in fact a paid program where you also get paid for working in the lab for those 2 months. The ad normally, I remember seeing it in the newspaper, but now since it's more like, that was 15 years back, right? So now it is more, you have to keep checking in their websites. It's normally around January or February they release that advertisement, and the program is in May and June. That is regarding the IIT internship. Navjot, you can add the other details.
Sure. There's something similar at the chemical engineering department at IISc now. So you're paid. It's a summer internship, and it's advertised on the website. It's usually in the months of May and June, and people can extend it. So that's one formal way that you can get into internships, through the department. Other than that, you can also write to professors. And most of the professors respond back. So I have trained 4 undergrad researchers under me during my PhD as of now. And these are fellows who would write to my PI an email saying that we are from this college, this is what interests us in your work, this is what we intend to do when we are there. And professors are generally courteous and they write back. But your email has to make them write back. It shouldn't be, hi, I'm Navjot, interested to work with you, write me back. So then I'm not going to write back to you. But you have to tell me why you want to work with, for example, in my lab, point of care diagnostics, molecular diagnostics, why you're interested in that, and where do you think you can take it. It also matters if you want to make international PhD applications later, because if you work closely with a good professor, then you can ask them for recommendation letters, which are a valuable asset you will need to make your PhD applications internationally. That's one mode. And the third mode is that all websites also have these project associate positions, which are also paid positions or not paid, depending on which lab, what project, and things like that. But you could keep on checking the lab websites of the professors or the field that you're interested in working in. And they regularly post about the positions openings in their labs. And you could apply to those to get into these programs. As I see this last slide being flashed, I have a resource for all of these questions that have been discussed as a YouTube channel that I've recently created. There'll soon be a video on research internships as well, so that might help you further. I have a video on GATE exam preparation, what is the PhD program, but most importantly, I have something called as the Science Chat Show. And why I think that is important is because everyone is unique, and things that I'm saying might not be relevant to maybe 80% of the people who are there in the audience, and they might more like what Himanshu is saying or what Rahul is saying, because they might have those inclinations. So what I try to do on the Science Chat Show is invite people from varied fields of science at different points in their careers to talk about how they went about their career paths in their lives. So if you go to the first theme, it has a graduate student from the UK, one from the US, and one from India. This will give you a perspective of how research and PhD programs work in the UK, US, and India. And similarly, you have researchers from different points in their life. There's a senior scientist from NASA who talks in the first episode. And all of this is sort of an effort to give you exploratory avenues to know what is it that you might like.